not very bright. Whoa. How am I going to get it to be lighter? I'll have to work something out. I did have a link somewhere. Oh, that was a bit bright. Minute. Reflects. All right. Lovely ones. Sorry, I'm a bit dark. I'm going to have to work out about lights. So the topic I'm going to continue is about hoarding, which is part 2. And this is about the outcomes that happen when a person becomes a hoarder. At first, it could be a bit like a hidden problem. And then, as it progresses, they just can't stop. So it gets to the point where they are just not able. So let me go through some of the problems or outcomes that might occur. And of course, like anything, it can be different with different people. So as the hoarding becomes more of a problem, they then start to make stacks. And in their mind, they are thinking that this is their organization. So, for instance, I knew of someone who had to cut out newspaper clippings because they wanted to share them with people who they thought might be interested. So what they would do is cut out these newspaper clippings, and then you think, well, they're finished with the newspaper, they'll throw it away. Oh no, there's a purpose for that. So then they put the newspaper in a pile where there's other newspapers. So it becomes disorganized. There's newspapers, there's clothes. Now, clothes is a big one. Clothes, we all know we have some favorite clothes that we don't want to throw out. And a lot of hoarders will just keep piling them, putting them in wardrobes, putting them in plastic bags, just keeping everything because they think, oh, I might need that. That would be a good painting shirt. Or, yeah, I might lose weight and I can wear that again. So all those excuses go through their mind. The other thing is paperwork. Now, if you run a business like I have, you are supposed to, by law, keep all your paperwork. It used to be 7 years. I think it's 5 now. I should really check. But to keep that paperwork, and now with computers, you can always just have it up on the cloud, or you can have all your, your bookwork. It doesn't have to be paper anymore. But some people have to collect every docket, everything they've spent. They check through it all, make sure that it was correct. And then, of course, those are the people who love books. Now, I love books too, especially cookbooks, because I used to have a catering business. But I've had to cut back on what I keep. The only thing I haven't got rid of, and my husband Bernie says to me, when are you going to give that away? I've got all the gourmet magazines, Australian Gourmet, from when I first started, which was about in 1985, right up to when I stopped, which was about 2010. So I do have gourmets, but I have worked as a food stylist and I have worked as a trainer. So I needed information. But today, with the internet, you don't need to keep it as much. But there's something inside us that we love to have our collections. And the last thing is sentimental items. A lot of people, especially when they lose a brother, sister, mother, father, partner, daughter, son, they can't throw out anything like birthday cards, anything that has got their writing on it. And I even thought of a business idea of where someone could come in and just go through all that, take photos on your iPhone or iPad and turn it into sort of something they can look at, and then throw out all those cards and everything, because how many times are you going to look at it a year? Are you going to pull it out every second day? No. But that's something that's hard for people to give up. So, with a hoarder, it might start, as I said, with just having spots where they put the newspapers, they put the old sentimental things. But what happens? Things become crowd inwards. And crowding and cluttering goes into your walking space, it goes into your living areas, it goes onto the top of your bed, and rooms cannot be used for what they're intended for. So people who have totally filled up their bedrooms decide that they have to sleep on the couch, and then the couch gets filled up and they have to work out, where am I going to sleep? And it's a real problem. The other thing that happens, and this is where it gets hygienically unsafe, build up of food, build up of trash or rubbish, and getting to a point where there's unsanitary levels. And I know of certain people who have suffered from this problem of being a hoarder. Some of them actually hoard animals, cats, little dogs, big dogs. And what happens? They just don't clean up after it properly. So there's feces, there's food, there's rubbish everywhere. And that can get to a point where it is so bad that people who are living there can become sick. All right, so the next issue or outcome that you might find if you are a hoarder is you can't function, like you can't have a proper shower, you can't make a proper meal, you can't even use the toilet properly. All those things add up, and that becomes quite a problem. Then the next problem happens with relationships, because if you're a person who's got a son or a daughter or a brother or a sister or a neighbor who care about you, and they think, we haven't seen such and such for a while, what's going on? They never invite us in. And then, of course, someone close, like a relative, starts to see the results of your problem, then conflict could occur. So I have seen like documentaries where children are brought up in this clutter and in this mess, and they can't go to school with a clean school uniform. They find it hard to have a shower, all those things. So it starts to get problematical. So relational issues could cause a big problem, especially if you are still with a partner and one partner is the clutterer or the hoarder and the other one just puts up with it. And then social activities, hoarders begin to avoid going out. Sometimes if they're retired, it doesn't matter, they still have their pension or whatever money's coming in. But if they need employment, how are they going to juggle the employment? Unless they work from home, which a lot of people do now, but it becomes an issue. And of course, the big problem with hoarders is, as I mentioned, they can be disorganized. So what happens? They lose things. They don't know where things are. They couldn't find their tax return number. They can't find some earbuds. They can't find sugar. All those things start to, because everything is visually overwhelming. So there we have some outcomes of what happens if you have the psychological problem of being a hoarder. So remember, hoarding is different to collecting, but be careful as a collector that you don't become so obsessed that you start going into the area of becoming a hoarder. So thank you for listening to part 2. And I'm sorry, I'm going to try and get a better light in this. But I hope you enjoyed it, and good night from Deb.